morning, and blessed be the name of the Lord God Almighty. He is sovereign, and his sovereignty stretches from generations to generations, from dispensations unto dispensations. We are going to see that in Psalm 46 today. I'm going to give you an overview before I read it. Psalm 46, from verse 1 down to verse 3, talks about the world as it is now, right now. In fact, it talks about the world until the 7-year tribulation, until the rapture, if you want to say it that way. From verse 4 down to verse 4 and 5 talks about the New Jerusalem that will be after this world, after even the millennial kingdom, after the final victory of Christ against Satan and his uprising. Verses 6 and 7 talk about the final war Christ is going to wage against Satan, who will be released from the dungeon or prison of 1,000 years, during which the millennial kingdom will happen. Verses 8 and 9 talk about the final victory of Christ. Verses 6 and 7 talk about the 7-year tribulation. 6 and 7 talk about 7-year tribulation. Verses 8 and 9 talk about the final victory. Verses 10 and 11 exalt God for his sovereignty and for his victory on behalf of his people throughout all generations. This is an amazing prophetic oversight of the human history and God's activities on behalf and among humans on earth, and in fact, all the way to the end of this earth. That is such an amazing psalm. Let's go read it together. God is our refuge and strength, a very pleasant help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, even though earth be moved, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though its waters roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with its swelling. As I said, these 3 verses talk about the world now. Even though there are natural disasters, there are troubles, we will not fear, because God is our refuge. God is the refuge of his people, and that's where we are right now. Verses 4 and 5 talk about the New Jerusalem. There is a river whose streams shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her just at the break of the dawn. We know from the Bible that God will be in the midst of the New Jerusalem. And here, these 2 verses describe or talk about the New Jerusalem, after this world has passed away, of course. Verses 6 and 7 talk about how God will be the refuge of his people, the Israelites, the Jacob, in time of the great tribulation. The nations raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us, the God of Jacob is our refuge. Of course, there is a general understanding, general truth about verse 7. But prophetically, these 2 verses refer to the great suffering time of great suffering for Jacob. That is going to happen in the time of great tribulation. We know that from the Bible prophecy. Verses 8 and 9. Come, behold the works of the Lord, who has made desolations in the earth. He shall make wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear in 2. He burns the chariots in fire. And I believe this is talking about the final victory of Christ at the Armageddon war, at the end of the age in this world, where God will finally and permanently, once for all time, defeat Satan and bring an end to his existence. That is the final war at the end of the 1,000-year millennium, or the millennial reign of Christ at the end of the year 7000. Verses 10 and 11. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. I love these last two verses. After giving us this prophetic overview of human history and all that major things in only 9 verses, in verse 10 and 11, God is telling us that He is God, He is in control, and He will judge the nations. It is amazing. And verse 11 is, the Lord of hosts is the God of Jacob, and He's our refuge, and He's with us. Friends, I want to bless you with this beautiful psalm. It's a short psalm, but there is so much into it. Be still and know that God is God. God of the Bible is the God in charge of the whole universe and generations and dispensations, and nothing is out of His control. He is exalted among the nations, and He will be exalted among the nations throughout generations. And He is exalted in the earth, but He is also going to be exalted in the New Jerusalem. Therefore, we can say, the Lord of hosts is with us. God of Jacob is our refuge. God bless you, and tomorrow, God willing, we will read together Psalm 47. Goodbye.